Hello, baseball fans. The season is a month away. Hard to believe, isn't it? And you see that beautiful trophy right there? And yes, it's beautiful. Someone should tell Rob Manfred that it's beautiful. That's the Commissioner's Trophy. That's the very thing that 30 baseball teams are trying to win. And it's a special trophy. It is a special trophy to play for. It's one of the it's been one of the hardest to win because the baseball playoff field has always been kind of small. It just now got the 12 teams, which is still relatively small compared to other leagues, but the journey is grueling, and in that journey, in the over 100 years that the World Series has been around, there have been three black managers who led their teams to win that very trophy right there. Just three. Who are they? I'll be happy to tell you. The first of those three was Cito Gaston. Many baseball fans know that name, and I'm pretty sure he's revered and honored in Canada too. Clarence Edwin Cito Gaston, born in San Antonio, Texas, managed the Blue Jays to their to those back-to-back championships in '92 and '93. Because the '80s and the '90s were kind of an interesting period, in baseball. It was like it was the tail end of the format, which had four divisions, and only the division winners made it. During the '80s, the Blue Jays were rising a bit. They debuted in the league in '77, and in 1985, only their ninth year of existence, they won the American League East for the very first time and almost won the pennant over a very game Kansas City Royals team. Even after that, Toronto still continued to contend, at least in the East, if not in the entire American League. But in '92, they had the magic, and they made history that year. The first Canadian team to play in the World Series. Of course, at the time there were two. There were two in the league. It was the Blue Jays and the Expos. And the Blue Jays faced the Atlanta Braves, who were in their second straight Fall Classic, and the Jays beat them in 6 games to win. The first time that a team outside the U.S. won the World Series. And the Jays liked that feeling so much they did it again in '93. We all know how that ended. Joe Carter's walk-off home run in Game 6. So Toronto won back-to-back, and it was Cito Gaston who managed that team, making history big time. The first black manager to win a World Series. Oh boy. Oh man. We Yankee fans really know this face, unfortunately, and I say that respectfully. Dave Roberts. Amazing. Dave Roberts was kind of like I think he was kind of like a pinch hitter when he was hitting. He would get in. He was kind of a base stealer. Of course, we know that feeling, don't we, Yankee fans? Oh boy, but but yeah, He went into this managing thing in 2016, and yeah, so this year will be his 10th year managing the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, of course, they kept getting far. They kept getting to the pennant, and they got to a couple World Series. Now we all know what happened in 17. We all know what happened with them. And 18 they fell short. And finally, Dave Roberts won the World Series in 2020, joining Cito Gaston on that short list of black managers who have won it. In addition, Dave Roberts is also the first and so far only manager of any Japanese descent to win a World Series as well. Um, and of course, now we all know about 2020. Okay, 2020 was hit with the pandemic. It was at a terrible height, and sports was immensely affected. In the case of baseball, the season was shortened, 60 games. The schedule was mostly localized, so a lot of people for the last like 4 years kept throwing that asterisk on that 2020 season. You know what they say? Mickey Mouse ring, COVID championship wouldn't have happened the full season. Oh boy, people had to say that loudly because look what happened this past year. He did it again in a full season at our expense. But yeah, he's the reigning defending champion, 2 rings, that World Series 5 games over the Yankees, and that was kind of like a destiny for that Dodgers team. But So they can't hang those asterisks on 2020 anymore because Roberts did it in a full season, and he's got two rings to go he's got two rings to go to his legacy, just like Cito Gaston does. As I said before, Roberts was the second to join that list, even though he's the most recent champion, because he joined Cito Gaston that club in 2020. 2 years later, it was this man, Dusty Baker, and boy was this complicated because at that time he was managing the Astros. Yeah, yeah, and we all know the story with that. Like I said, we all know what happened with the Dodgers in 2017. The Dodgers lost to Houston, but we all know why. We all know why, and all that came out on the Astros in entering the 2020 season. So yeah, they had Houston had that cloud over their heads. They were cheaters. They cheated to win that first one, and they kind of got away with it because the commissioner didn't really punish them. But but yeah, Houston in 2022. 22 was the first year of the current postseason format that allows 6 teams per league, 12 teams total in the postseason. 3 division winners, 3 wild cards. And if I remember that year, I think Houston did win the division, but I think they finished below the other two, so they actually had to play that wild card series. At least I believe they did. Yeah, they did. They did. They had to play that wild card series. They won that, and then they easily swept Seattle. And then, yeah, they swept us. Terrible. But Houston reached the World Series for the third time in this stretch, and they faced the Philadelphia Phillies. That was a crazy World Series, and but Houston ended up winning it 6 games, and one of those wins was the no hitter, and so Dusty joined the list, the third black manager to win a World Series, joining Cito Gaston and Dave Roberts on that very short but very amazing list. And yes, I was happy for him, but not for the team he was managing. And there you have it. There you have it. The three black managers who have managed to win that very trophy as managers. Cito did it first, did it twice back to back. Dave Roberts was second, won it in 20, and then won it again this last year. He became the second, and Dusty Baker became the third. It's an amazing piece of black history in America's pastime, and and I mention it here because it really doesn't get mentioned much. But that's a big deal because it's a big deal with black managers and of course coaches in other sports when they reach that mountaintop, reach the pinnacle, and win big ones like that. And who knows? Maybe in my favorite sport, hockey, we'll see a black coach in the NHL, and one of these days he'll be hoisting that Stanley Cup. That would be really something. That would be an epic piece of history. So yeah, Cito Gaston, Dave Roberts, Dusty Baker. I definitely honor their contributions to this great sport, and it's an amazing thing that achieved this. They've achieved this pinnacle. A couple of them more than once, but they achieved this pinnacle of success, and it strikes an immense message for Black history and representation in America's pastime.